for people's acceptance, you will die from their rejection. And this is the lesson I was about to learn.
Hello, I'm Stephen Kimpel, Director of Student Ministries on the campus of the King's Academy with Lecrae, our chapel guest in the fall of 2018. Really excited to have you here.
Yeah.
I know you from your music, but we got to get to know each other just a little bit better. So I got to ask you a question. You're driving across country, or let's say you're on a long ride.
Okay.
What's on your playlist? That's a two-part question. It's a doozy to start
Okay.
off. What's your go-to snack and also drink? So playlist, snack, and drink.
This is so easy.
Okay.
It's
Good.
super easy.
Good.
So if I'm on a road trip, first of all, the only reason I'm on a road trip is because I have my family with me, because I cannot stand road trips. My wife loves them. So I have my whole family with me. So the playlist probably consists of some Kids Bop or something along those lines. Meanwhile, if I'm not driving, I got my headphones in. I'm probably listening to a podcast just so I can make it for the next few hours. And then when I gas station food, it depends on where I'm at on my scale of indulgence, right? Like if I'm trying to do right and eat healthy, then maybe like some kettle chips or a protein bar and some water. If I'm not at all trying to be right, it's definitely like some Sour Patch Kids and something carbonated that's terrible for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You got to cover all the bases.
Right.
Do your kids listen to your music?
You know what they do, but they're picky because I'm not like they want particular songs. So they're not just like fans who love the whole catalog. They're like, play that one, daddy, that one.
I gotcha. Imagine a world in which you're not a hip hop artist, social anthropologist, speaker, producer. What would you envision yourself doing? Or what could you have envisioned yourself doing?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great question. I really do think I'd be in some kind of entrepreneur type of business mode where it's kind of like, hey, let me use my ability to just catalyze and rally people up for something, in terms of business and getting stuff going. So I don't know, that's a good one. I know business, but I'm not sure what I would do. Maybe a real estate agent or something like that, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Maybe I think I would sell knives.
It could be lucrative.
A knife salesman.
That has real potential.
Dull knives at that. No, I'm joking.
Maybe you could like rhyme your sales pitch too.
Yeah. See, and they were like, what?
They buy thousands and thousands of dollars a knife.
Exactly.
There's a real future there.
I believe
Maybe
so.
in your retirement.
Now we have a plan.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Put it in.
Yeah.
This is the first day of the plan for Lecrae's retirement.
Knife salesman.
All right, I got an additional question. Before you have like the Cross Movement, that's actually the first.
Man.
That's the first album I bought, and my mom had to check and make sure it was good.
Yeah.
She was like, "Can he buy this?" I was like, "I'm in." So the Cross Movement, you had like T-Bone.
Wow.
You had like a bunch of guys that were doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Kind of before you were doing, but didn't necessarily rise to the same level of influence that it seems that you have. When you started, did you envision that your influence would be quite as big as it currently is?
Never.
Really?
Never. And I mean, just, I was always trying to be sober-minded about everything and take everything, in the moment. Because every time it would just be something new, and it's like, what, how did that happen? And then it's like, how did that happen? And so, your mind just gets blown at every single thing that ends up happening. So no, I don't think I could have never imagined it.
Was there a moment where you realized like the scope of your influence, or that may be a tough question?
Yeah, you know what was funny was I was doing an interview, and a woman asked me about the pressure I felt to, how do you feel about the pressure, and how do I feel about the pressure to stand in the shoes of, so many great Christian leaders? Right. And I was like, am I in those shoes? Is that a real thing? And so that kind of made me step back and say, whoa, I never considered it from that vantage point.
For sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You had mentioned that on a long road trip you're listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So along that same train of thought, who is it in life, maybe it could be an author or a speaker or just a friend or a person in general, who do you take advice from and glean wisdom from at this phase in your career, seeing multiple transit? Like, who's somebody that you go to, or who's a list of people that you go to for advice?
Yeah, there's a laundry. I believe in having coaches. So obviously every aspect of your life is like if I compared it to like a part of a sport, it's like you need a kicking coach, you need a throwing coach, you need a running coach. And so I have a lot of different coaches. I think Dr. Carl Ellis, he's a professor and a teacher based out of Tennessee. He's been very influential in my life. Another mentor of mine, Soup Campbell, who I worked in inner city Memphis with, had a profound impact on me as a person and just my development as a man. And then, my good friend, and a lot of times peer-to-peer relationships are some of the most influential. And I think my good friend BJ Thompson, who has a relationship and marriage kind of ministry called Build a Better Us, has just been really great because I can glean from his wisdom, but then I'm also his friend. So my wife and I can sit down with his wife and really start navigating through stuff to be better husband and wife, parents, all that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then one question that I'd love for you to speak to, or maybe give some insight on, is in a culture so divided on so many different issues, what advice would you give to a Christ follower to address a culture that seems to be polarized in numerous different ways?
I think for me, one of the things that I've had to learn is to keep Jesus at the center, obviously, the authentic biblical Jesus at the center of it all. And then around the person and the work of Jesus, have a very diverse array of people and influences that you can glean from, right? Because no one group of them has all of the answers and all of the insight. And so, if you can travel the world, learn from, people from India to Africa to Asia, just gain insight from every vantage point you possibly can while keeping Jesus at the center. Yeah.
That's excellent. Thanks so much for your time. I think your scope of influence is even bigger than maybe you realize, and in many ways, I think even your collaboration with mainstream artists, and as a mainstream artist, your collaboration with other mainstream artists is a huge testimony and encouragement to Christian, how they integrate themselves with mainstream culture in general.
I appreciate it.